If you're here, you probably already felt that discomfort of knowing you could be doing more, being more, but something seems to hold you back, right? We all know that feeling. There are moments when we catch ourselves procrastinating, avoiding challenges, or even blaming external circumstances for our results. This weaker version of ourselves is like an invisible weight that keeps us from moving forward. But here's the thing. This is completely normal. The great Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus faced these same struggles. They taught us that the path to true freedom begins when we decide to destroy this weaker version and embrace our inner strength. As Marcus Aurelius said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. In other words, we have the power to choose how we react to life's challenges. In this video, we'll explore practical tools based on Stoic philosophy to overcome the mental traps that keep us stuck. We'll talk about how to step out of your comfort zone, surround yourself with strong influences, take action without relying on motivation, and much more. Each topic will help you take one step closer to building a stronger version of yourself. And the first point we're going to address is precisely about how to leave your comfort zone and use discomfort as a tool for growth. Because deep down, it's in discomfort that we find the greatest opportunities to evolve. How to leave your comfort zone and use discomfort as a path to growth. Let's talk about something we've all experienced. Comfort. It's seductive, isn't it? Staying in bed a little longer, avoiding that difficult task, or even procrastinating on the couch with a TV series. It seems harmless at the moment, but the problem is that comfort keeps us stagnant. It's like a warm blanket on a cold day, cozy but limiting. The Stoics were well aware of this. They practiced something called premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of evils. The idea is simple. Imagine the worst-case scenario when facing discomfort. For example, if you avoid going to gym out of laziness, ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen if I go? Probably nothing serious, right? In fact, you'll only gain benefits. This exercise helps demystify discomfort and makes it feel more manageable. Remember, small daily discomforts are like muscles being strengthened. The more you face them, the more resilient you become. As Seneca said, there are no favorable winds to those who don't know where they're going. Now that we've talked about discomfort, let's move on to the next point. The importance of surrounding yourself with strong influences. After all, the people around you can either help or hinder your growth journey. The importance of surrounding yourself with strong influences. The people around us wield more influence over us than we often realize. Being surrounded by weak or negative influences can pull us down, while strong connections propel us forward. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoics, reflected deeply on this. He carefully chose his role models, drawing inspiration from figures like Socrates and Cato. Ask yourself this. Who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Do they make me stronger, or do they weaken me? If the answer isn't positive, it may be time to reconsider your friendships and relationships. Gradually replacing unproductive connections with individuals who challenge and inspire you can make all the difference in your personal growth. Now that we've explored the impact of external influences, let's move to the next point. Why relying on motivation is a mistake, and how to act even when you lack the desire. Because, ultimately, we cannot always depend on our inner energy to guide us forward. Why relying on motivation is a mistake, and how to act without desire. Motivation is like a candle. It burns brightly but can be extinguished at any moment. It depends on our mood, circumstances, or even the weather. When it falters, we become paralyzed. The Stoics understood this well and emphasized the importance of discipline over fleeting motivation. Epictetus taught that we must act based on duty, not desire. For instance, if you need to study or work, do it even when you're not in the mood. A simple technique is the 5-second rule. Count to 5 and start the task immediately, without hesitation. This helps overcome the initial inertia. Discipline is like a muscle. The more we exercise it, the stronger it becomes. And this is precisely why we need to address the next point: how to transform suffering into an ally for becoming stronger. Because often, it is in difficult situations that we discover our true strength. How to transform suffering into an ally for becoming stronger. Suffering is inevitable, but many of us see it only as something negative. The Stoics, however, had a different perspective. They viewed suffering as an opportunity for growth. The concept of a more fatty love of fate teaches us to accept what we cannot change and seek lessons in difficulties. For example, if you face professional disappointment, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How does this prepare me for the future? This shift in perspective transforms suffering from an enemy into an ally. As Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacle is the way. Now that we understand how to use suffering to our advantage, we need to address another crucial point: the power of taking full responsibility for your life. Because, in the end, we can only control our actions and responses. The power of taking full responsibility for your life, blaming others or external circumstances, is a form of weakness that holds us back. The Stoics taught that we can only control what lies within us: our actions, thoughts, and reactions. Everything else is beyond our reach. Practice the exercise of distinction. If something doesn't depend on you, let it go. If it does, take full responsibility. For example, if you're dissatisfied with your career, instead of blaming the market or your boss, identify the actions you can take to improve your situation. Remember, you are the architect of your own life. Taking responsibility is liberating because it places the power to change firmly in your hands. And speaking of power, we need to discuss how to cultivate an essential quality: how to become unshakable in the face of life's challenges. Because, ultimately, life is made of difficulties. How to become unshakable in the face of life's challenges. External adversities can easily disturb our inner peace, but the Stoics teach us that this depends on how we choose to respond. Ataraxia, tranquility, is a state of mind we can cultivate by training ourselves to see challenges as opportunities, not threats. For example, when someone criticizes you unfairly, remember that their words reflect their own weaknesses, not your truth. A simple technique to maintain calm is to practice mindful breathing. Take a deep breath before reacting. That space between the trigger and your response is where your power lies. Being unshakable doesn't mean ignoring difficulties, but facing them with clarity and balance. And speaking of balance, we need to address something even deeper: the importance of living with purpose and building a legacy. Because, in the end, having a why makes everything clearer. The importance of living with purpose and building a legacy. Let's talk about something that makes all the difference: purpose. Without a clear why, our actions become scattered, directionless. Have you ever felt this way? You do 1,000 things in a day, but at the end, it feels like you've gotten nowhere. The Stoics understood this well. Seneca said that chasing money or status without a greater purpose is like filling a leaky bucket. No matter how much you put in, it will never be full. So here's a practical tip. Every day, ask yourself, what am I doing today that truly matters to me? A simple exercise is to write a letter to your future self. Think about the impact you want to have on the world 5 or 10 years from now. Then, list 3 things you can do right now to move in that direction. Having a purpose not only gives meaning to your life, but also strengthens your most resilient self. And speaking of resilience, we now come to conclusion, where I'll show you how to bring all these pieces together to create the best version of yourself. The journey toward the stronger version of yourself. We've reached the end, but this isn't a final point. It's only the beginning of your journey. Destroying the weaker version of yourself doesn't happen overnight. It's a continuous process that requires discipline, self-awareness, and courage. Every step you take toward discomfort Every choice to surround yourself with strong influences, every time you act without motivation or take responsibility, you're building a stronger version of who you are. Remember what Marcus Aurelius said: "You have within yourself everything you need to become great." So here's my invitation to you. Choose one of the topics we discuss today and apply it to your life over the next week. Experiment, test it out, see what works for you, and afterward, share your experience in the comments. This journey is yours, and the power to change lies in your hands. Thank you for staying with me until the end, and remember, you already have everything you need to begin. Now, it's time to take the first step.